Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome back to Sit and Go Trainer. Today we're on day 12, and we're going to be talking about the sit and go middle stages on how to play the middle stage of a sit and go. Just to recap, yesterday we talked about the early stages and how basically playing tight is right. You want to play tight, 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 stick to the top 1 and 2 tier hands that you have there, and you're doing that for the first 3 levels. Now we're opening it up a little bit in the middle because you've lost players usually in the middle hands. The blinds are starting to rise on you, and you're going to need to start being a little bit more aggressive than sitting back. So what we're going to talk about is basically blind stealing and when to go into push fold mode. It's very important that you're picking up a set of blinds if you can almost every time it goes around you, so that way you're staying afloat. But what's very important at this point is that when you get to a certain level of your stack, and what's going to happen is the way you're going to play is going to be dictated by the size of your stack. So what you're going to do, and the rule that I use, and this is the one I teach to my students in the live training, that basically if you get to 10, your clip level is 10 big blinds or less. If you get to 10 big blinds, 10 times the big blind or less than that, that's your stack. Then if you're going to play a hand, you're going to be all in or you're folding. That's how that scenario is going to work out. It makes it very easy. You don't even have to worry about position anymore. You don't have to worry about anything. You just decide, if I'm playing this hand, I'm all in, and either I can pick up the blinds and add that to my stack, or someone will call me and hopefully my hand will my hand will hold up. Now what's important about that is that you're looking for opportunities that you're the first person in, because that comes back to the lesson that we talked about, raising versus calling. When you're calling someone's all in, the only way you can win is if your hand holds up at the end, whereas if you're the one actually pushing the action and actually shoving your chips in, you can either pick up the blinds with everyone folding, or you can have someone call you and your hand wins at showdown. So you have 2 ways of winning as opposed to 1. So that's a very important thing to remember. Even be careful and go back to, if you have to go back and review the hands, how they stack up. Remember how ace king, high hands like that, like 2 overcards, ace king and ace queen, how they actually hold up against like a 7-6 or a 5-4 or something like that. It's not that strong. They're still losing 40% of the time. So you want to keep that in mind when you're thinking of calling off. If you can avoid calling and actually push the action, I'd prefer to see you push with a weaker hand, but actually have the possibility of your opponent's folding than actually calling and having and having your hand have to hold up. So anyway, we're talking about the middle stages. That was the recap of yesterday, blind stealing. Let's look at an example. We're going to head over to the replayer and have a look at some examples here. In this case, we're actually on the bubble. This is actually kind of some bubble play, but what I want to show you is when you're into push fold mode, basically 10 times the big blind here. The blinds are 50, 100. 10 times that would be 1,000. So our player here, his clip level would have to be 1,000 or less. He's definitely below. King Queen is definitely a strong enough hand that you need to be shoving in, and this is definitely an all-in push. Without even thinking about it, you need to shove it all in here. You can't let it go around anymore. Let's look at the next hand we're going to have here. Stop it here quickly. Now the blinds on this guy are actually 75 and 150, so 10 times the big blind here is actually 1,500. Our player here has 1130. That is below the 10 times the big blind, so he's all in or fold mode. So if it's folded around to him, he has to push in, and it is, so he's actually going to push. If this guy goes all in or this guy goes all in, you can't call off with 6s in this spot. You don't want to call because then you're calling off and your 6s have to hold up. At best, he probably has 2 overcards, and if we go back to the hand matchups, we know that if he has 2 overcards to your 6, to your smaller pair, then you only have a 50-50 chance of winning that hand, as opposed to if you're first in with these 6s, it's a push. If someone actually raised in front of you or pushed all in front of you, then you're going to have to actually fold these 6s in this spot and wait for a better hand that you're actually the first one in. It's very, very important. And the difference between when you call off, you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage because you're limiting the ways you can win. See, no one was able to call you there, and you were able to add those blinds to your stack. Same scenario here. If it's folded around, ace 5 off the button, has to be pushed in there. There's tons in there. Gets called by a weak hand. It actually holds up with the ace, and he actually goes to 3,400. Same scenario here. Let's stop it here. 1245 is the clip level at the 75 150 is 1500. He's at 1245. He shoves it all in here without thinking about it with a pair. Now there's a difference with these sevens of shoving it in here or having someone push in front of you and you calling off with sevens, because multiple ways to win it. There's already 150, 225, 3 something in the pot. He could add almost 25% to his stack here without seeing a flop. Obviously he would like to see actually everyone fold, but if someone does call, then he has an opportunity to double up there. And turns out we actually do get one caller. He had a pretty big stack to actually make that call, so it's maybe not a terrible play on his part. He only had Queen Jack. It's a pretty weak call off, but the best hand holds up, and there's a nice double up there and puts him in much better shape to actually continue on with this sit and go there. So those are the examples of some pushes. Remember, you want to for your homework, just remember you're in push fold mode. If you have 10 big blinds or less, it's very, very easy to remember, and try to steal a set of blinds each time it goes around the table. And the main point to think of is sometimes you're going to have to start pushing with some tier 5 and 6 hands because you don't want to blind out. This is very, very important as well that I want to talk about, is that you can't let yourself get to the point where your stack is insignificant against your opponents. So you want to keep that 10 mark in rule, so you want to keep it right around there when you're pushing. And if you let your hand go down to where you have 2 big blinds or 3 big blinds, well then everyone's going to be calling you no matter what cards you have, and unfortunately that's not what you want in those situations. You're looking to pick up blinds and keep your stack afloat. So that's it for today. Just work on that. Work on your shoving there. Tomorrow we're actually going to talk about some bubble play, which is very important, and we're going to learn something called the 20% rule, this is extremely important. This is where the most sit and go, any sit and go players, this is where the money's made, right around the bubble, where the decisions that you make there are very critical to where you're going to finish in the sit and go and if you're a profitable sit and go player or not. So look forward to tomorrow's lesson, and I'll talk to you guys then.